Hello, and a huge warm welcome to my guest today, Rishi, who is the founder of the Speech Heroes. And I'm really excited to chat to you about all things speech and language delay. But first, let me tell you a little about our guest. Rishi is a father whose greatest inspiration is his son, Aryan. Aryan lives with a speech and language delay, and as a family, they have learned that this journey is not a short one. Each day brings new challenges, but they face them together. As a father, Rishi continues to encourage Aryan to rise and to try again and to know that his voice matters. This determination is what inspired the Speech Heroes. Through the story, children are invited into inner battles experienced by those with speech and language delays. The villains represent the barriers and block words and confidence, while the heroes reflect the courage, resilience, and the bravery that it takes to overcome them. Rishi wrote this book because he understands how many children live with speech and language difficulties and how isolating that experience can feel for families. This story is his way of showing that no child is alone on this journey. The battle continues, but the message is clear. They will not give in. Through creativity, storytelling, and connection, Rishi hopes to help children everywhere believe in their own superpowers. What a beautiful mission to be on. And I'm so pleased to be able to share this with the listeners today. So a huge, huge welcome to Rishi today. How are you?
I'm good, Lucy. How are you?
Yes, not too bad. Thank you. This is such a fantastic thing that you're doing. And as soon as I saw it online, I was like, I need to have this conversation with you because I think there are so many levels to the help that you're providing through storytelling. And I just love it. So just to begin with, can you tell us a little bit about being a parent and your own family's journey with speech and language delay?
Yeah, I've got one son, Aryan, and I live with my wife, Priya. And Aryan got diagnosed with a speech and language delay, and it was when he had just turned 5, and we were basically, I was going through this stage of the feelings, where
Mhm.
Aryan obviously is diagnosed, and it's just another thing to kind of deal with.
Yeah.
So Aryan was struggling to even say dad at one point, and he would still not be able to tell us his basic needs. He was still wetting himself. So it was pretty bad. And I could see his frustrations when he was trying to do stuff and he couldn't do it. Like even like building like Legos and stuff like that. Like he would get really angry and upset about it because he couldn't
Yeah.
communicate that he needed help. So at that point, I kind of turned to my wife and said, because I'd noticed that he loved music and tapping his chest and walking around the house humming, I then decided that I need to do something with this. And ultimately, it was born out of both of our frustrations, to be honest. And he was going through the same thing as me, and it was more of turning it into a positive, and
Yeah.
bringing them skills out of him that I knew that were just trapped.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? When it is Arian your only child, your
He is,
first
yeah,
child?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so coming into parenthood as well, when it's new to you, and then having to overcome these challenges that you've not experienced before, and as parents identifying that there's a challenge there or an additional need that needs to be addressed. That's really hard, isn't it? Kind of emotionally, first and foremost, to kind of identify and then even know what to do next or where to go next.
yeah. And that's the issue. Like, you can go to an assessment, you can go to an appointment or an assessment, but it's not very thorough. You just get given a sheet at the end of it and say this is what you need to do. And I found that
Mm,
really like repetitive, and it's boring in the sense of like I had to learn, these things. Obviously, I didn't know about them, but it's for me, it was like, how is a child meant to learn by doing these things? And it was about me thinking outside the box and really being really observant and conscious about what Orion's power was really, and
mm.
and it was just changing that really.
It's a really big emotional shift as a parent, isn't it? To kind of come into something like that, identify that there's a need, and then go down kind of a different route, a different pathway, because you expect to something like communication and speech and language, you expect that to go down the normal trajectory because, you know, that's what we're fed. These are the
Mhm.
milestones. This is how children develop and things like that. So when that doesn't happen and you have to kind of shift and move in a different direction, I think it takes a lot of emotional energy, a lot of courage, a lot of self-confidence as parents to then have to kind of instill that in your children as well going forward. And the way that you're doing that, I think, is beautiful. Was there kind of a moment where the speech heroes kind of was born in your mind along that kind of process and thinking, right, this is how we're going to address this?
So it mainly I would say, so like if we just go back a bit, like I was getting so many things thrown at me from school.
Mm, right.
They'd change the targets. They were saying he isn't interacting with kids, and then he was interacting with kids, then they wanted him to play alone. And this is like when he's in nursery. So like some of the stuff that they were telling me, I was like, I'm not taking any of this. And they had
Mm,
these targets that were individually set for different kids at age. And I was really like against the system because it's a tick box exercise. And yeah, so for me, I was already frustrated and angry. And the moment was really when I started to see Aryan like music, like house music or beats. And that was really the moment where I turned around to Priya and said, I'm going to write a rap song. And she looked at me, and I can actually remember the day, and it was in winter. And she looked at me and she just nodded her head and thought, probably thought, what's he on about now? What's he going to do now? And then that was really the beginning of it. So I started to write a rap song, which turned into Speechbound. And
right.
we found a free beat online. And I would sit with Aryan in the evenings after work. And we would get we had a plastic mic. So kids mic and kids headset, and we would sing to this beat, and he started to repeat the words back to me, and ultimately that's
Amazing.
that's that's how the speech heroes were born, really. So Speechbound is a song about Aryan's speech delay,
Right.
and it's my encouragement as a father. So it's really empowering, and we ended up recording it with the help of my friend Ranjit, who I'm really grateful for. And we had no skills in recording, so we kind of just put it together. And then we actually shot a full music video with kids in it. We used a
Did
drone.
you?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we got a coach, a kids coach, to help us out with the kids in the boxing ring. They were boxing, and we got like a professional boxer to come in, just to encourage the kids. And we had a couple of kids that actually had autism, speech delays, to be part of that project as well, and their parents. So it was kind of like a day together. And it was just powerful. Like I'd bought these affirmations cards that I've got in Aryan's room, and I used them in the video. So yeah, Speechbound it's on YouTube. You can still listen to it. So we
Fab.
released that on World Voice Day, and we used it as a fundraiser to raise money for kids with speech and language delay, because there's 2 million children in the UK that currently struggle to communicate and understand
Wow.
words.
That's a huge number.
It is, yeah.
I there are so many questions that are in my mind from that first sentence of I'm going to write a rap, and I love that, and I can
Yeah.
imagine your wife's response be like, okay, where is this going? And look
Yeah.
where you took that is incredible. That's going from I'm going to write a rap to creating this whole opportunity, this music video, the
Yeah.
fundraising opportunity, getting other people involved. Like that is incredible. And I guess as well, you noticing the musicality in your son as
Yeah.
being your gateway in to
Yeah.
help him. I think
Yeah.
that's incredible because I'm probably not the only person to not make that link between speech and language and a beat music. And
Yeah.
I guess you noticing that and then taking that and actually that being your window in for starting to understand how that can be a gateway to
Yeah.
support. Where does that come from? Did you have any background knowledge in making that link? Is that just, did you go with your intuition that he likes music, let's try this?
So ultimately, I believe that Aryan's the creator of it. It was in him because when he was younger, we bought him a keyboard. He could watch YouTube and play it back like that straight away.
Yeah.
So he used to listen to Coldplay and just hum and stuff. So like I could tell there was something there, but there was also that blockage. Um, so I just found that he changed when he heard music. There was something powerful about it. And over time, so we released the song in April, and by about June, July, Aryan had performed already at two youth festivals in the West Midlands, and he would just go on
Wow.
stage, and the the energy, the crowd, like there was something with him and music. It seems like he's naturally talented in it.
Hmm.
So
What an incredible journey to start all of this off, and the experiences that he's having at such a young age. And it must feel so empowering to him to finally have a way of having a voice and to be able
yeah.
to communicate with those around him. I love that. Why? So, where did the kind of movement into kind of superheroes and storytelling come along this journey? Why do you think it's important to have that way of telling stories?
Well, it's mainly about turning them, emotions into a superpower, really, because we've all got them and we don't actually notice them in a creative way. We always tend to like put a negative word into it, but not always think about, hang on, this may be just a slight weakness and we need to work on it a bit more.
Mm.
And then ultimately, the characters were again created in our house. Me and Aryan, Aryan draws a lot. I would just watch him and then we would put stuff together. And one of the characters is called Hurry Up. And as you know, every morning for nursery or school, a parent is always saying, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Um, always watching the clock. So I was very conscious about what I was doing. And I was like, what if there was a character called Hurry Up and he's got like, I create him into like a functioning clock with wheels. Me and Aaron actually drew all these characters out. There
Oh,
was,
you did
yeah,
yourself?
we did, yeah, yeah, yeah. So we drew
Wow.
we drew them out before we actually commissioned, actually even writing a book. So these characters were created in our living room.
I
Um,
just love that.
and then along came the story. So the whole story is actually about a young child who's got a speech delay, and he battles against these villains on a daily basis and becomes a superhero. And me doing it as a superhero theme was because children already understand superheroes.
Yeah,
That
that's
that's
true.
the main point. That's the main link I found because even if they didn't understand the overall context of the story, they would understand these characters individually for, maybe like listening to their parents, like even the keyword hurry up, frustration. So like, anger, that explosive sort of like they know what a volcano looks like. So it seems
Hmm.
angry to them. So they would already, even though they couldn't communicate these things, there's directly a link by them looking at this picture. They'd be able to tell, oh, I'm feeling like this.
Yeah. It's very, very clever. When you pick it apart like that,
Yeah.
that's a very clever way of looking at it because yes, they do already understand the kind of superheroes and the context of them and kind of the purpose of a superhero and that kind of positive connotation and the
Yes.
confidence and having those superpowers and overcoming challenge and achieving things. So having that link, I think it's very clever what you've done here with the story because even children very young who may not understand the context, as you say, of the actual storyline itself, they can
Yeah.
still kind of associate and recognize the
Yeah.
purpose of having the
Yeah.
heroes in there.
Yeah, and there's key messages in there. There's like other things that these kids do, like pointing, they sign, they make faces, you know, they use
Mm,
tools like, the AACs. So they're using these tools already, so they'd be able to associate themselves with them tools.
hmm
Um,
Yeah.
like Aryan used to point a lot. Like that's how he communicated with us. He's pointing all the time. He'd make faces. I'd know when he was upset. Like it's about me being a more of a conscious parent. Um,
Right.
and like ultimately, like the the aim of this was is for raising the awareness and also allowing parents to unlock potentials that they, may have, their child may have, like doing art. Me and Aaron used to paint all the time with like classic music on, and that would just
Yeah.
again bring some sort of flow out in him. Um,
Hmm.
and doing all this repetitive stuff, like for me as well, like I'm not really the kind of guy who wants to sit down and, learn things. It has to be creative. So that's basically another way that I found more comfortable in teaching Aryan things. And the book really reflects how that creativity can expand like a child's mind.
Yeah. It's really interesting what you said there about kind of being more of a conscious parent, because I recently finished a research project that I did with an autism charity. And one of the things that repeatedly came out when I was talking to both the families that had been working with the charity and the therapists that had been working on behalf of the charity was this idea of actually, because we were looking at the kind of communication between very young autistic children and the parents, and it was very much around actually the parents understanding that the children were already communicating but in their own way, and that it
Yeah,
wasn't a case of because they're not speaking, my child isn't communicating. Actually, it's tapping into how are they already communicating with you, and the parent being more aware of that. And that really kind of, when you said that straight away came to mind, because it is, isn't it? It's understanding how they're already communicating and how to really support and encourage and develop that element, that pathway of it.
yeah, of
And so I
course.
guess a lot of it does come back to supporting the parents. And I think when we look at what you're doing and the book and everything, and we can really see the benefits of the children engaging in it and things like that, but actually there must be a really strong element to supporting parents through the work that you do as well.
Yeah, it's just to basically I want to remind parents that that even when they are frustrated or they've got these stresses, that it's okay because we already know that there's the systems kind of failed us in a sense, in my experience, and we're just kind of left to go and find a solution, and it's just empowering parents as well as their children that it's okay. And yes, they some kids will catch up, but the kids that won't, they're the ones that really need the support. But it's okay for your child to be different, you know, and there's so many stresses on parents, as I said earlier, and it could really get you down, like and
Yeah.
ultimately, like for me, like it did get me down as well, and I've still struggle with like coping with these things because you have to like really adjust your routine. And I had to get down all the time on my knees and like give Aryan a hug to reassure him that I'm here, I'm protecting you, but then allow him to be free as well. Like if he wants to run outside in the rain, if whatever he wants to do, just allow him to do it. Because you could, when you're a parent and you start to kind of focus on these things again as a negative, and it could really like consume you in a sense, I'd say.
Mm,
And you just need to be very free, being like a free conscious parent more than anything, I think, especially with children that have got these delays. It's okay if you got a child who's like okay and they listen, and it's just about adjusting how you are as a person. And I still find it hard today, but it's about me thinking outside the box and how I can change as well, because mine and Aryan's journey is so aligned. He couldn't find his voice, but then it was the same for me. You know, I wasn't really that confident, but like looking back at it, how it's all happened, it's like it was always meant to be this way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Being able to kind of draw on your own growth alongside your child's growth as well. And I think it's important what you said there about you still struggle, because it's not something that just stops. It's not something that you kind of overcome and then that's the end of the journey. Like it's
No.
a constant up and down, isn't it? I mean, that's parenting in general is a constant up and
Yeah,
down through the various different routes. But when you have an additional need that you need to consider as well, that is going to be very much, you're going to have the highs and the lows. So I think that's really key. What you said there is kind of that reassurance that it's not always going to be we've overcome it and then everything is hunky-dory. It is
yeah,
going to be
exactly.
an up and down journey. Do you feel like there's a lot of kind of support out there for parents navigating this? And what do you think is the best way for parents to find that kind of support?
I personally, my experience of it all would be definitely music therapy. Um,
Yeah.
I think parents need to be a bit more exploring that as an option. Is it out there? There is, but there's nothing actual local levels at the moment where anyone's actually doing anything like that. And,
Okay.
one day I would actually like to bring that into local hubs where, um, parents can send kids with like special educational needs and speech and language delay where they can learn to play instruments, and see what happens from there. It's just about experimenting it. The
Mhm.
support from speech and language therapy, for me on the NHS, I wouldn't say it was the best. You can go privately, it's expensive, and there's in my eyes, it's more you're treated like a number instead. So if you go through the NHS system and you're discharged, for example, and you go back
Yeah.
into the service again, you're treated as a new customer or a client again. So it doesn't really work. I think because of obviously the workload and the amount of children that have got it, they are putting you on a priority system straight away where kids with, more needs are prioritized higher, and somebody who's communicating at the moment and they feel that's a low priority, but that's like, in my eyes,
Yeah.
it's you can't be judging kids when you see them every 6 months for half an hour and not make a real decision on it. There's not enough focus and quality in the time that they're actually spending with these kids to actually make a decision.
It's hard, isn't it? Because as you say, like the service is so overwhelmed,
Yeah.
overwhelmed, understaffed, and all of that. And I guess that's why it's really important for people like yourselves, and you're quite prolific online, on social media, videos, information, things like that. And I guess that's why this is really valuable, what you're doing, because actually it's helping to support those families and those parents in that in between stage while they're trying to find help and support. And, they may not need to go down that route because what they can find online is actually enough. It's just, I
Mm.
guess it's knowledge, isn't it? Knowledge is power, as they say. And it's
Yeah.
understanding what's out there, it's understanding what things mean, other people's experiences, and as you say, trying new things and trying and seeing what works. And I guess that's where the real value comes from people like yourselves being online, is actually filling that need for parents who are struggling to get outside help and support. But actually there's a lot of information being provided online around things like this.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So I just tend to think that like parents have already got it really busy. So working, running the house, doing the school run, literally everything. And then this lands on you. And, an example like for us is there's information out there, but it's just online. Like you can't just learn something online reading a website.
Right.
There has
Yeah.
to be some sort of interaction face to face, something that where people find comfort and that safe space to kind of like engage and, overcome it together and step over that threshold. Like ultimately, yeah, I've done this alone, but it's now about building that community outwards. And,
Hmm.
there's parents like me who are struggling online. And in December, I was doing Vox pop-up talks with parents in Birmingham. And,
Right.
the amount of people that were just talking about the support that their child wasn't getting, um, at a low level, or even going up to like kids with autism and non-verbal who cannot even get into schools. because of funding or the school's too far. So like the whole system is like a bit of a mess. There's no bridge in between. So what I want to do is kind of build that bridge of bringing a new sort of theme called the Speech Heroes, or this creative kind of hub um, in the UK, and try and fill some gaps. I know like the Ed Sheeran Foundation is doing stuff with music, and that's
Okay.
something similar. Like I'd like to like speak to them at some point to see how we could support young kids. The Wolves Football Club Foundation have recently done something called Wolf Words. So I'm actually trying to like engage with them to see how I can do something locally for my community, to first of all get the books into the right hands,
Hmm.
and then see what else, and is there any like schools we can visit? Because as much as parents and children who have got the speech delay need to be aware of it, be aware of it, the their friends need to be aware of, their teachers are not aware of these
Yeah.
things. It's
Hmm.
everyone and anyone that is surrounded by these kids. And like Aryan having DLD now, I think it's 2 in 7 is the stat, or 2 in 10 kids have it in every class. So, 1 in 5 children have got a speech and language delay. And that's a lot of kids in a school.
That
Like
is. That is a
overall, in
lot.
how many
Yeah.
classes, that's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And schools need to do their part by doing more arts and creative stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that this, I mean, having more creativity within the curriculum is something that has been discussed for a while now, hasn't it?
Yes, it
And I
has.
know
Yeah.
that they are bringing more arts and creativity in. I agree. I still don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
Um, but there is that acknowledgement of the benefit of having that creative
Yeah.
outlet, because not everybody is going to excel in writing or reading, or those more kind of standardized ways of communicating or getting a point across and things like that. So having the acknowledgement of the benefit of the more creative way of delivering things and communicating, I think, is a real benefit. But it definitely needs to be more. And I completely agree with what you're saying in terms of it's everyone. It's everyone's responsibility to know and
Yeah.
understand and support. It's not just those who are, the family and the individual with the speech and language delay. Is there any? And I have had a very similar conversation with some of the send communities that I work with and work alongside. And it's that awareness of, yes, the autism training or the ADHD training, actually, it's important for the children in the classroom around that individual as well
Yeah.
to know it, to understand it, to know how
Yeah.
best to communicate and work alongside and things like that. So I completely agree, is all of these individual challenges that our young people face, it is important for everybody to be aware and everybody to have the knowledge and understanding
Yeah.
around it. So I absolutely agree with you on that point. Um, the Speech Hero celebrates kind of having all ways of communication. What does that mean in practice for children who may not have any spoken words yet? What kind of some of the other ways that you've witnessed communication happening that people can be aware of?
So it just goes back to like what I just said earlier, like so like pointing, signing, making faces, they've got the tools. It's just about empowering them things, and having a positive output on it rather than a negative, and
Mm-hmm.
being more observant about these kids, and really just, how I've changed as a person, like myself as a dad. It would be great if everyone else could adjust and, use that in a sense of a like a superpower, instead of like, saying this is our targets at a school, for example, and then this child's not meeting them, but there's a reason why that child's not meeting them.
Mm,
So shouldn't we be working on really supporting them kids? And me as a parent, I've always heard like, oh, there's not enough funding for this, there's not enough funding for that. But I will fight for Aryan, you know, all the way
yeah.
through this. And we're like fortunate enough, like recently, with Aryan's speech delay, like Aryan's at stage now where speech and language therapy are trying to discharge him. and
Right.
I've had to escalate it to like senior management to review it before he gets discharged. But they can't discharge him because they gave him a provisional diagnosis of DLD, which is a developmental language disorder, and they haven't
Right.
done the assessment that they should do. So like
Right.
this
Okay.
is how
You can't
this
close
is
it
how
out if it's not.
yeah, this is how messy it is. And like I'm trying to say to them, well, you've given him a provisional diagnosis on what basis, firstly? And you need to run the assessment. If you don't, then we're quite lucky because of the work we're doing. Somebody has offered to see Aryan privately, but that's
Mhm.
because of the work we're doing, and we're probably the lucky ones that will get that assessment to
Yeah.
establish what Aryan really needs, and then we will continue to go privately. Um, but it's only because we're being pushed into a corner right now. And
Mm.
so many parents will actually just say, "Oh, okay, the child's been discharged or she's been discharged," and think that it's okay. But the long-term problem is you're going to have children growing up with mental health, isolation, not being able to do so many other things as a teenager, as an adult going into the working world. So there's so many things that are going to get missed, and that
Yeah.
scares me, especially with Aryan. It's like I really want to make sure that I can help him as much as possible now so he is a strong individual in the future. And, um, like I think meditation's good as well for kids, like going back to what you were saying as well. Aryan does mantra meditation. I take Aryan to so many retreats with me. He's like the only kid
Yeah.
there. And he's at home. Like last week he made an altar, like he's doing the om mantra, like uh breath work. So like
Right.
he's noticing when he's getting angry, like, oh, I need to breathe. So he'll do these like, breathing exercises. It's literally going back to basics.
Yeah. But this is what we need, isn't it? I
Yeah,
think going back to basics, that was a perfect phrase, I think, because everything has become so complex nowadays. And
yeah,
even down to, what children are taught in school and the curriculum, and there are so many things crammed into it. But actually, let's bring it back to basics. We need to be able to understand our own bodies, our own emotions, our own thought processes, all of those kind of soft skills, as they call
mm,
them, are so so important. And I've always said, like, I wish the education system was more focused in the kind of early years and primary ages on
yeah,
those basic level skills, getting to know who I am as a person and all of that kind of communication and everything like that. And then when we get into kind of secondary age and beyond, then we can start kind of to contextualize it and put in all of the other things in the curriculum,
yeah.
because otherwise we're constantly, like you're saying, you're just pushing that battle throughout the whole entire lifespan of the individual rather than kind of approaching it from that
Yeah,
standpoint
are
at
we
the
really
beginning.
building are we really building like strong-minded kids? We're not. We're just throwing them into a system that's not working. And
Mm.
there should be like Starling styled education. So like they should be allowed to like, go out into nature, learn what they like, listen to music, play instruments. They need to go back to basics. And, like I'd really fond and I always push that sort of style. Like I wish Aryan had gone to, that styled school. But I didn't know Aryan had a speech today early on, so
Yeah.
obviously he's at a mainstream school now. But like the stuff that he has kind of like, I wouldn't say he hasn't missed it in nursery. Obviously they do a lot of it, but it's about me taking him out in nature, or like, we go like we might go to the woods and we might look for like different species of mushrooms, or like we just like, we're out there. And then we're doing the music bit at home, and then he's doing his
Yeah.
instruments. I recently bought him like a DJ set because he loves music. So it's just about getting him, say you can do it, because you know, um, things are hard, but don't let that consume you emotionally. It's about reminding them again, this is your superpower. You know, your
Yeah.
voice is your superpower. Like I've been saying it a lot recently. Like it feels like parents are being silenced. Yeah. with these kind of with kids having these conditions, and that's how I feel because I feel silenced, but it's kind of fighting against the system in a positive light. So like trying to
Yeah.
get people on board to start thinking, okay, maybe this dad's done this, and maybe we should try this with our children. It's just a
Yeah.
kind of change. You got atomic habits of kind of thinking differently.
Yeah. And I guess that goes back to what we were saying about having that space on the internet that you're
Yeah,
providing that kind of information, that support, that kind of demonstration of I'm in it as well. I'm doing and that's what I love. I love missions that are led by people who have the lived experience of the mission, like parents that are coming into this. You are living what you are talking about. So you
yeah,
bring that element of reassurance and credibility almost behind what you're doing, because actually you're not just taking it from a textbook and telling people
nah,
what you're reading, you're actually living it. So you have all of the information, but you've also got all of that emotion attached to it that you
yeah,
can relate to with people as well. And I think that is what I find really drives some of these kind of missions that people are on, is having that lived passion behind it. The ups and the downs of it, I think,
yeah.
are really important
And it is
to drive it
powerful.
forward.
Like this work is powerful because not only this has given me so much purpose, it's born from my son, and then me growing the speech heroes because I didn't think anything of creating the speech heroes. It was just to get Aryan to speak and to perform, and then I didn't think I would be writing a book. Like it's I didn't think it would go this far. Like now,
Yeah,
every day, like we're taking steps forward. But any of this, like if you'd asked me 2 years ago, like I would have not thought any of this. But I've become a purpose-led creator. Like this is
yeah,
my mission. I know what my mission is now. It's to empower other families, empower children, and get raise awareness out there and really just give it a go and create a new whole system um, by doing all the right things and bringing this creativity to where it needs to go to with the brand, with the speech heroes, you know,
hmm
um, getting that community behind us, because ultimately everyone is struggling.
yeah. It's hard. How how do you find getting the balance right in the books in terms of, because obviously having the positivity, having the encouragement and building the confidence in young people, you can really see and understand the benefit in that. But obviously you have the villains in the stories as well that are kind of representing that internal struggle and those battles and those challenges that children come across,
Mm.
which clearly have a very important part in the story. How do you get the balance right between not being too negative and focusing on the challenges while still kind of acknowledging them?
So it's the key. There's key messages in there around. So I would say like there's bits in the book that are the struggles, yeah, but then there's bits in the book that are supporting. So I really looked into details of children's books because there always
Right,
seemed to be the mum was always in the book, yeah, the mum and the child's always in the book. In this book, mum, dad, and child are in the book, yeah.
right.
And I
Mm,
really like thought about this whole process. So mum and dad are supporting the child. They're playing games together. When the villains show up, there's again that message of encouragement, try again, like never
mhm,
give up. Um, but then towards the end of the book, it's about where I've brought everything together is that every child is different, but it doesn't make you any less, powerful. So with the right tools and the support, like, the child can find their voice. Like it's about
mhm.
our voice as a like I've wrote it's our voice and it's finding that strength and that's really the moral of the story.
Yeah, I think it's great. Do you think it's something that kind of people who are working in a role where they're supporting children? So obviously the book and in the home. It's very much got a place in the home with parents and that. Does it have a place in kind of speech and language therapy with professionals who are working with children? Do you see it as being a tool that they can use within their sessions, for example?
I think they're definitely going to be able to start saying, instead of saying that the child's got a speech delay, they may be able to say that that child is a speech hero. Yeah.
You got a trademark. Have you trademarked it yet? You've
I
got
have
to
trademarked
trademark
it.
this.
Yeah, I have trademarked it. But I'm
Yeah.
speaking to a lot of professionals recently. My LinkedIn has been going off, like, because I'm
Yeah.
asking them for their opinions. And, like I had a massive increase like the last 2 weeks, my LinkedIn with messages, people getting in touch who want to speak to me. I'm trying to currently onboard a team. Um,
Okay.
I don't know what my next step is yet, but I'm trying to build this team at the moment where I've got like a special educational needs advisor. I want to bring sign language into this because Aryan doesn't sign, but kids should be taught signing from early age. Um,
Yeah.
Speech and language therapist, and then maybe somebody creative, and then a parent. So I really want 6 to 7 core members of like the speech heroes to take us to the next level. Um, yeah, I think it's been amazing at the moment. Yeah, like I was at an event yesterday. I had like somebody who's involved in creative art and design from Wales speak to me. She's a professional. And yeah, just in general, like I'm getting good feedback from speech and language therapists. So, because I've been putting openly my experience with the NHS, and like loads of
Yeah.
people have reached out to me, like saying, we're sorry to hear this. Like, we'd like to speak to you about what you're doing because some of the speech and language therapists are like in the creative world as well. Um,
Right.
so there is people out there that are doing creative stuff, but I think again, it's very much led by like flashcards and
Hmm.
things like that. Like, yeah, they're great. They're great things like board games and stuff like that. But it's really a battle against changing the mindset of the whole sort of setup, and I
Okay.
and I hope one day that like, that speech and language therapist will be able to say, like this is what we should be really reflecting on children, not what their weaknesses are, because that's all you're
Hmm.
constantly hearing. And how does that make everyone feel? First of all, you're kind of putting this light on the child, and then the parents have got their own stresses, and they're like having to deal with this condition, speech delay, and then it's just overall negative, I think. But
Yeah.
I'd really love people to start saying that their kids are speech heroes, and that's really the message behind our brand.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. There, within the space of any sort of additional need, or challenge, developmental challenge, it is very much led on that kind of deficit front. It's always
Yeah.
focusing, and I get it. Like, we need to acknowledge what the struggles are to be able to help with the struggles, but it is very much focused on all of the kind of deficit model, as they would
Yeah,
call it, all of the
always.
negative. And again, going back to this research that I did recently with the autism charity, the program that we were looking at and that we were evaluating is very much led on, it's a strengths based program. So it is
Hmm.
focused on the child's strengths first and foremost, and how you can support the strengths within that family context. And so it's a similar sort of thing to what you're saying. It's focusing on the positives. It's focusing on, their superhero traits and
Yeah,
the things that they can do, rather than always focusing on the things that they can't do.
yeah.
Whilst I acknowledge that there is a place for that, because you need
Hmm.
support. But yeah, I love that kind of stance that you're taking, is actually these are your superpowers. And I
Yeah,
really do
definitely.
hope that we start hearing that more frequently, that we have lots of little speech heroes in and around everywhere. You can have
Yeah,
like speech hero ambassadors in schools, and I can
yeah,
see it all. I mean, I can't fault your passion. And
yeah,
from the beginning, you can see, I can hear the cogs working in your brain. Like, you can see, right,
yeah,
this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to go, and this is what I want to try.
yeah.
And You've got so many plans, which is great, and I love the idea of what you're saying about bringing in
Yeah,
the range of different people to help
yeah.
drive it forward. So I'm really excited to see kind of where Speech Heroes goes next, and what kind of the next steps are as you grow and develop. Do you think there are plans for more books?
So the book is a foundation. Yeah, there may be plans for
Okay.
a book. Um, However, I'm really going towards the animation side of stuff.
Oh, okay.
So ideally, I could see it on CBBS or like a
Hmm.
cartoon channel, where kids might be able to really like engage with that media output. Um, that's where I
Hmm.
see it. I can see it there. Like I've thought about doing an app for kids, but I'm not technical enough, and I'm not saying that's my weakness. Like, I could get an app developed, yeah, but is it gonna really solve the problem where my skills are? I don't think that's right doing because really I need to be involved in it heavily, and that's where my
Yeah.
purpose lies. I can do all these other things, but yeah, for me, it's more about leading the direction towards like where I want to take it. And I think going into the creative world is definitely on my list. I can
Hmm.
definitely see it as an animation, and just need to kind of like keep building them connections,
Yeah.
see where it goes forward after the book. It's great having a book because it's
Hmm.
really set the motion for me to kind of push this forward. Because when I didn't have a product, it was just me and Aryan, and it took 9 months for the song to get some traction. But these
Yeah.
things take time. Like it's taken nine
Yeah.
months for people to actually start following us, going out on the street, speaking to people because people follow influencers online. It's easier for them to gain the following. But when they're trying to get to know somebody with a real life experience, I found that I've had to work harder in that sense.
Yeah.
I couldn't just put a post out on Instagram and saying, "Hey, this is my book. Buy the book." Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's so much
Yeah.
harder. You need to actually go out there, speak to professionals, speak to like the business world, speak to like everyone, like anyone you can, keep repeating your story. And that's where the
Yeah.
power lies. The power lies within the story and how authentic is it itself.
Yeah. Absolutely. It is really challenging to when you've got like a brand or a mission or something that you're
Yeah,
starting to get the traction. It takes a long time, and we hear the phrase overnight success all of the time, and that's only because when you become aware of something and it is so successful, that's when you see it. But actually,
yeah.
you haven't seen the 10 years leading up to it of all of
Nah.
the slog and the
You haven't
hard
seen
work
all the
and
nights that
everything.
I'm working, obviously after work and like, and I'm working all the time. Like I'm actually tired. But but the thing is because I've seen the change in Aryan, and that's
Yeah.
how important it is. If it's got my son from not being able to speak to performing on stage within like 2 or 3 months, and he's just loving life now. Like even yesterday, we were at a spiritual event, and he got the mic, and he said his name was Aryan and stuff, and that's what it's all about, really, is just giving
Yeah.
him that confidence to say, Aryan, you are Aryan, and you are yourself. Just be you, but you've got this as a superpower as well. We need to utilize it, and keep pushing him and surrounding him with
Hmm.
all them people that he needs to be around, so he grows up stable, confident. He knows how to deal with mental health. He knows how to deal with his emotions.
Yeah.
Have he has trust to come to his parents, not run away, like, running away from the situation or getting addicted to like alcohol or other drugs, like, because ultimately that's what we're going towards with some of these children, like, that won't have the support because they'd find comfort in substance, for example, or I'm trying to think long term, and I just
Yeah.
see it because of my own journey as well. Like I just see it like, I've really had to change the way, my own story, if we could spend all day talking about it, but I didn't have the tools to become an adult. I was just literally like a trauma child. So I was carrying baggage most of the time, and I don't want Aryan to ever have that either.
Mm.
He
Mm.
doesn't need it because it doesn't make you into a strong adult. My voice was trapped for years, and I've only just started to speak out and go onto podcasts and so it's about just empowering kids and mainly support. Parents just need to give support more than anything.
Yeah. And I think it's really special when an individual like yourself uses their own adverse experiences to actually fuel the passion to
Yeah,
do the change that needs to happen rather
yeah,
than it. I mean, it could have taken you down multiple different routes, and and I'm not saying in any way that that has been an easy thing for you to do, but I
yeah,
really commend you for taking that and actually using that as the fire behind what you're doing and wanting to
yeah,
make the change that you wanted to see for not just for your son but for
yeah.
everybody's children
Yeah,
as
yeah. This
well.
is for everyone. This is like, it's not about me and Aryan. This is for every child who's struggling and who needs that power. And we need to share that with the world because my motto is obviously give, like selfless service is key for me. When I was a child, I was in refuge. I went back
Right.
to that refuge after like 20, 30 years, and we did a fundraiser for them, but that was the only way I healed is by giving back to them children that needed it because often what happens is kids are just forgotten about. We focus on the victim and
Yeah.
growing up in that environment, I know what it's like and there's so many adults that are in the same, space and it really impacts them. Like I had an addiction to alcohol, and there's mental health and like, psychosis. Like I've had my own journey, but having this purpose and really like giving back to people has helped me along the way. Give
Hmm.
without expectations. Like for me, service is everything, and that's the main reason I do everything.
Rishi, it's amazing what you're doing, and it's
Thank you.
amazing that you're doing it coming from a place of such challenge that you have for your own personal growth. And I think on the surface, we could see that, you say it's not about you and your son. And I mean, it is absolutely about you and your son, but it's
Mm.
about everybody else as well. But
Yeah,
on the surface, we can very much see that journey of you as the parent and your son and how you're navigating that. But
yeah,
when you put in the context of where you've come from as well and the challenges that your own personal growth alongside that, I think that only
mm,
strengthens the mission behind
yeah,
what you're doing. And I think it's incredible that you've got to where you're at now. And I have no doubt that you're going to absolutely fly with this. And there are so many great things that are going to come out of this. And I'm really excited to follow this journey. Um, what would you say to any parents listening who might be at the start of their speech and language journey, and feeling a little bit overwhelmed with it all? Have you got any kind of words of support or anything that you can say to anyone listening at the beginning?
I'd say I'd say you've got this. Yeah. So it's gonna feel like you're like pushing your head against something. So there's that feeling is never gonna go away. But you can unlock your child's potential by being, by doing something different, like get them into music, 100% I would say. Yeah. Explore it, explore things, sit down with your children and play with them. And try and spend as much time as possible to really get to know the character.
Yeah,
Go back to basics, like really strip back, forget about everything else. That's where you really find your strongest kind of, I don't know what the right word to say is. I'd say that's where they're really going to find the passion, the strength is in them
yeah.
sad, dark moments. That's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and having that community around you to support you through that, I think
Keep
that's
talking,
key,
keep
isn't it?
talking. Yeah,
Yeah,
keys, keep talking to, you need to keep talking to everyone. Um, it's it's just sad it is the way it is. Like,
yeah,
with the lack of support, it is very
hmm,
sad. But we're dealing with people here, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's ultimately how I see it. We're dealing with people, we're dealing with children. People have got emotions, like they've
yeah,
already got a blockage. So like we need to really just like shift that thinking and Yeah, parents have obviously got, they're really working hard at the moment, but it's just about go back to basics, be more conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind, loving, compassionate, graceful about everything. Like give that to your kids and um, you will get through it and we will all get through it together.
Yeah, absolutely. So if parents want to find out more, want to get involved, contact you, say hi. You're on
Yeah.
social media, aren't you? Or you're online. Do you have a website as well? How can people find you online?
So our website is thespeechheroes.com. We are on Instagram. So it's underscore the speech heroes. And I'm also on LinkedIn, but that's for a professional capacity only.
Yeah.
And again, that's Rishi, the speech heroes.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll put links underneath the episode so that people can find you really easily and come and connect. And the last thing to ask is the book. When is that coming out? I think the book will probably already be out by the time this episode goes live, from what I understand. Where can people purchase it?
So I'm currently taking pre-orders. However,
Okay.
the book will be on Amazon from the 17th of February
Hmm.
2026, which is next week. And they'll be able to buy the book for $11.99. It'll get delivered straight to their house.
Brilliant. Well, by the time this goes out, that will already be live. So I will pop the
Sure.
links to that underneath so
Great.
that people can go straight through. And as a writer myself, I always like to try and encourage people to not just purchase the book and enjoy it, but if they enjoy it, share it, write reviews, and
Yeah,
help kind of
definitely.
spread the word as well. Because I think you've put a lot of effort into creating something that I've no doubt will be super helpful for a lot of families and a lot of children. So anything that we can do to help support, you just let us know. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and explaining to us who the speech heroes are and where we can find them. I'm really looking forward to following this journey going forward.
Thanks, Lucy. Thank you.